Good morning. Saturday morning. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Deb. Rainy in Florida. Well, it is a beautiful day here. It's like mid 60s, kind of breezy, like pretty weird for the middle of June, but I'll take it. It's pleasant. I have windows open today, which is nice. As it gets later into the summer, you can't really escape that drone of the air conditioner and all the windows shut. But we get a little break today, which is nice. The church bells are really kicking it up here today. I'm not sure if they think today's Sunday or or what, because it's a lot more than normal. So give it a few minutes. There's nothing really going on here. Same old stuff. Just doing yoga and, you know, yard work. So much to do. There's always so much to do. You have to give yourself permission to uh, don't get bogged down with it. Just think about what's in front of you now, right? What are you going to do today? Um, we live in an old house, and I mean, all houses have things all the time, but it feels like old houses are just, you know, every time you turn around, something has fallen apart, and it's never a simple process to get things sorted again. My husband bumped into a door. He says, bumped into a door. We'll see. I think he probably hit it pretty hard, but broke the doorknob off. And if you know anything about old doorknobs, they have a they have a sort of a shaft in between the two knobs, and it's drilled. So it's definitely a weak point there. And after several hundred years of people running into the doorknob, it finally gave out. So yeah, that's going to be my quest to find that. Actually, I can't even just find that because it's on one side. It's part of the shaft is attached to it. So I'm probably going to have to find a whole new set. We'll see. I think the last time I saw anything like that in person was the farmers market in Newcastle, which they may still be doing. I don't know. I haven't been out and about on a weekend up there, so I don't really know. Um, but I may have to, take to the internet and see what I can find as well. So, what are you gonna do? It's always one thing or another. I think we were talking about that yesterday, right? It's a form of non-attachment. So when we first moved in, well, this is sort of the second old house that we've had, and the first one, the kids were quite young. they were a little older when we moved here, but my youngest was just a baby. They were really just gearing up to be super destructive. So the first house was pretty well spared. This house has borne the brunt of three children racing around through it, and so I had to come to terms pretty quickly with that concept that um, things are, you know, um, they are going to break. They're going to um, get ruined, and um, I think especially if in an older house, you sometimes get that feeling like, you know, it's you have to think about are you is it a home or is it a theme park? Is it a home or is it a museum? Um, you may care a great deal about the things in your home, but they are simply nice versions of anything. They may be perfect, the perfect thing that you selected, but they are really only useful in their ability to be used. So if they get broken, they get broken because that's part of what happens when you use things. Um, so, yeah, being non-attached. Um, it's a it's a lesson. It's a lesson that we learn, and for some of us it takes a long time, and it's ongoing. One of my kids threw a little toy, and cracked one of the old windows. Which I mean, they're beautiful windows. The panes are about this big, and you know I could see myself going to Home Depot and trying to buy get them to cut a piece of glass, and so you know but that's what we do. um, and I try to remember too that the people that built these houses weren't they were just trying to build a house, right? They didn't think of it as a museum piece or a something to be valued for thousands of years or whatever, just something to live in. So that's what we're doing. All right, so moving on from non-attachment today, non-judgment. Right? So um, non-judgment, right? So that's a tricky one for many of us. Many of us are sort of silently judging everyone around us all the time. And there is a certain aspect of our mind that is doing this automatically. So if you feel that happening, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Our mind is in the analysis business. So analyzing a situation and the people that are there, and assessing your risk, assessing what's might to come. This is what your mind does, and that's what it does to kind of keep you safe, keep you prepared for what's happening. um, so we're not talking about that. That is a process that goes on. Really, judgment comes in when we take action on those um, analysis that we've done. So when we consider someone less than because of our evaluation of who they may be, when we look down on someone because we don't think their job is prestigious enough, or we think they're too lazy, or too, they have bad habits, or there's something about them that allows us to uh, judge them based on our analysis, right? And it could be the same thing. We could also judge people to be more um, virtuous, right? well, this person lives in a beautiful house and they seem so educated. So I'm really going to give them more respect than I would an average person. Um, we run into problems, right, when we start using our analysis to value other people and our relationship to those people. Um, we don't get it right, you know. We only see a very slim and small picture of who people are. Um, and in truth, none of that really matters, right? Um, if we are looking at people with our open heart, we see them as we see ourselves. We are flawed people struggling to get somewhere. Um, we are no better and no worse than anyone else. And that is the truth. We may have been given better opportunities. We may have made smarter choices. Um, Again, much of that, if we are working from the heart, we know we aren't responsible for much of that. Um, Many times it was other people around us that helped us. It was circumstances that sort of conspired to bring us to a good place. So to take credit for that would be wrong. Um, to be grateful for that is correct. Uh, so when we look at other people, and that's not to say that we aren't going to be able to differentiate right from wrong, right? I mean, we're going to do that. Um, we know when someone is going down a bad path. The thing is, um, we need to have some compassion for that and some empathy for that, knowing that we, if, and perhaps we have been down those paths in our life, so we know how tricky that may be. Um, Maybe we have never, right? So we don't know, right? So we don't want to put ourselves in a place where we're judging someone for something we don't know. If we have been down those paths, and this is something you'll see a lot where people are reformed from something, some bad activity or harmful activity they were involved with, and they are twice or 10 times as judgmental about others, especially people going down that path. Um, you see it like with people that have given up smoking or drinking, right? They are very critical of others doing those things. When in truth, we ought to have the most sympathy because we know how addictive these things are. We know how hard it is to give them up. Um, so don't take it upon yourself to judge other people. That's not our job. Our job is to help. Our job is to try to bridge that gap between people with compassion. Um, our job is to hold out a hand if someone is in need, um, and to keep holding out a hand, even if they shake it off. They don't want that. Um, Maybe they don't want that. Maybe they're not ready. So we wait. Maybe some other time they will be ready for a hand. Um, but and this is something I was remember reading this in Yoga Sutras, and I was surprised because uh, it's a very direct. Um, a lot of things in the Yoga Sutras. So the Yoga Sutras is a book with, kind of all of the information about yoga and the different practices and all the different philosophical prescriptions. And the one thing that they are very specific about, there's a lot of vague, general, but one thing they are very specific about is that you cannot um, make anyone do anything. You can't tell someone who's going down a bad path to stop. You can't really reason with them. You can't lecture them. You can't, all of those things will be rejected, and most likely very angrily, right? Because again, they don't see it. They're not going to see the error of their ways, and you trying to point it out isn't going to help. Best to let people learn for themselves, and our job is to be an example by our own life. What are we doing, and how are we succeeding with what we're doing? And it's not, again, people feel like, wow, that's pretty passive, right? I mean, that's not, you're not really doing much to help, but you are, because it's very empty to tell people to do something, especially if you're not doing it. I mean, how is that helping, right? It's like the doctor, it's like a lung doctor who smokes telling you to quit smoking because it'd be bad for you. I mean, come on. You've got to walk the talk, as they say. And by doing so, you give an example of what that path will bring. Right? And people who are going down the bad road, well, if they're lucky, they'll come to, some sort of branch in the road, and they'll look around, and maybe they'll see another way to go. They'll see maybe what you're doing, and that will have an impression on them. And you're going to be there holding your hand out. Hey, if you're ready, come on. Or they may just keep going. But then they'll learn themselves, right? Experience is the best teacher. And we talk about this so much in yoga. When you come to asana, right? You can talk about the asana, you can read it in a book, you can watch a video, but until you're doing it yourself, you are not going to understand what it is. You're not going to have the feeling in your body, which is, 90% of what we're doing here. So, yeah, non-judgment. We are all struggling, all of us, every day. Don't think that we aren't. Don't think that there are somebody out there who is got everything made. They may look like they have a very easy life. Things may look very, they may have plenty of resources, lots of money, everything nice, everything looks good. But inside, things could be a shambles. We all have struggles. So never judge. You can observe, right? And you can know what's good and what's not, right? So we know the difference, right and wrong. And we're not going to necessarily, if there's somebody that's going down a bad path, you may decide, yeah, I'm not going to hang out with that person, right? Because I know where this is going to lead. I don't want to go down that path, so I'm going to stay here. But not associating with people is not the same thing as judging them, right? It's just doing your thing, they're doing their thing. But we can still be kind. We can still have compassion. Judgment shuts that down. Right? Again, it accentuates the separateness, and what we want is to bring things together. So, so in your practice today, think of ways where you can let go of judgment, maybe about yourself, about your practice, about what you think your practice should be. A lot of times people get frustrated, especially if they've been doing yoga for a while. They think they should be here, and they think they're here. But I would tell you, where you are in your head is much more important than where you are in your body when it comes to practicing your yoga. So if you can be comfortable in your body, not judging, being compassionate, being open to what's happening, that matters so much more. Even if you never touch your toes, you are going to be further down the road. So, asana. Sitting up tall. Take a few breaths. And then chin down toward the chest. Just let the head hang. Back up. Chin lifts. Back to your center. And then lowering. Head over to the right. Oh, if you tuned in yesterday, see, I do still have a voice, but I can feel it's a little rough. So I'm glad I have a day off tomorrow. Back up to the center and moving left. Back to center. Walk the hands out. Come on back, hands behind you. Squeeze the shoulders together. Set your gaze up. And then back to your seat. Tabletop. Cat-cow here for a few breaths. Inhales and exhales. Sitting back on the heels, child's pose. And then if you have the tops of the feet resting on the mat, let's just flip. So kind of on the balls of the feet. Breathe. And then rest the tops of the feet back on the mat. Make your way up, tabletop, and then downward dog. Bicycle out the legs a little. You could maybe walk the feet to the edges of the mat. And then stepping the feet up. We'll fold. Rising up slowly. Standing tall. Deep breath in and out. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. On the exhale, right foot steps back. Drop your knee, arms overhead. Hands to the mat. Stepping back, downward dog. Inhale, high plank. And lower down. Inhale, lift up head and chest. And lower. Inhale, lift. And lower. Once more. Inhale, lift. You can lift up head and chest. Or upward dog. Moving to downward dog. One more breath. Then right foot steps up. Drop the left knee, arms overhead. And then hands down to the mat. Step the back foot up. Fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach arms high. Back to mountain. Take a breath. Inhale, lift, arms high overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, left foot steps back. Drop the knee. Arms overhead. Hands to the mat. Moving back. Downward dog. Inhale, high plank. Then lower down. Inhale, lift, head and chest. Lower. Inhale, lift. Lower. One more, lifting up, halfway or all the way. Upward dog. Back to downward dog. One more breath. And then we'll step the left foot up. Set your knee down, arms overhead. And then hands to the mat. Back foot steps up. Fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Lift the arms. Back to mountain. Take a breath. We're going to step out. I'm stepping to the right, so I'm facing the side of the mat, but you can face any side of the mat you want. Take a deep breath. Hands at the waist, and then fold forward. You can keep the hands here. You can bring them down onto the feet or onto the mat or the floor. If you've got a block, you could rest them on the block. You could also tip the block. I got to bring some blocks out here. I got to remember to do that. You can have it tipped on its side. You could stack a couple of them and you could rest your head. Whatever you want to do. We're just leaning into this so that we feel that stretch through the hips. Breathe. And then we're going to come up to kind of a flat back. We'll have the right hand to center. You could have it on a block or wherever you want it to be. Left hand at the hip, taking a turn here, maybe lifting the left arm. Back to center, switch hands. Inhale and twisting to the right. Back to center. Hands back to the waist, engage the strength in the legs, lifting up. Take a breath. And then we're going to turn so we're facing the front. Right foot is out, left foot behind. Interlace the fingers, draw back the shoulders. Take a deep breath and fold. You may have a bend here in the right knee, right? If things are tight, having straight knee may be difficult. And we're going to keep the hands behind. Coming up about halfway, flat back here, shift some weight into the right side, so bend the knee. And then we don't really need this left foot for anything, we're just lifting it up. And breathe. So if you don't feel real steady, you can always set back down. Try again. Try not to think about this too much, right? We get in our heads with it and it seems very much more difficult. And then setting the foot back down, back foot meets the front, arms overhead, back to mountain. Breath in and breath out. So then stepping out again. I keep coming to the same side, so I'm facing the camera, and you may also, because you want to see what's going on. That's fine. So another fold. This time, we're just going to do the same thing. So hands to the waist, take a breath, fold forward. For this one, see if you can bring the hands down, maybe by the ankles. Or you could even grab a hold of the toes if you want, do that yogi toe lock. So we're inhale, kind of lengthening, and exhale, pulling down. If that's not working for you, then you can do a version up here, right? Where maybe you're holding onto the legs and leaning forward as much as you can. So, whatever works for you. It's all good. Right? Everyone's got different flexibility through the thighs, hamstrings, all of that. But you can do the same sorts of things, just in different places. And then release whatever you've got a hold of. Come on back up. Take a breath. And then we're going to walk the feet in. So we are shoulder width or so for our malasana or yogi squat. Hands together. Take your breath. Bend into the knees, lowering down. Nice and upright with the body. Coming back up. Release the hands, and we're going to turn. Now, the left foot is out, right foot behind. Interlacing the fingers, draw back the shoulders. Deep breath. And fold forward. Coming up about halfway, we're going to shift weight over into this left side. Bend the knee so you have some control here. And then we're going to lift up the right. And breathe. And if you're setting back down, that's fine. Just try again. And then just make your way back up. Back foot steps up to meet the front, arms overhead. And back to mountain. Take a breath. And And let's do another balance. We're just going to bring the hand at the waist and lift up that right leg. So nice and upright with the body, shoulders relaxed. Bring it back down and switch. And foot comes back down. Bicycle out the legs. And then from here, we're just going to lift up the heels. So you might just lift the heels. If you feel like you want more, you can try to lift up the whole foot so you're on the balls of the feet. And then set the feet back down. Bicycle out the legs. Coming back. Top of the mat, arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, we're going to step back. Downward dog. Inhale, come on forward, high plank. And then lower down. Head turns to the right, arms by your side. Bring the head back to center. We're going to set up for Sphinx Pose. So propping up on the elbows, forearms resting on the mat. Elbows are close to the body, shoulders squeeze back. Press down with the hands and breathe. So if we're ever doing Sphinx and you want to do a little bit more, you can always move into Seal. Seal, we're just pressing down with the hands and lifting up. So again, it's just a little, deeper version of it. And then lower down. Head turns to the left. And bring your head back to center. Moving back up. Tabletop to child's pose. And then child's pose or a tabletop to downward dog. Walk the feet up. Coming to a seat, soles of the feet together. Sit up tall, take your deep breath. And then we're just leaning forward. Think about hinging from the hips. Bringing the rest of the body just forward. So we don't want to round the spine and pull the shoulders in. We're going to pull that all back. Moving back up. Both legs out in front. Deep breath in, arms overhead, fold forward. Coming back up, we'll bend the right knee and bring the foot in, close by the thigh. Take a deep breath. Lean forward, left hand is reaching down towards the foot for a fold. Coming back up, switch. Sit up nice and tall, deep breath, and then fold. And back up again, both legs out in front, another fold, deep breath, arms overhead, then fold. And we're going to walk the hands back up, bend the knees, soles of the feet to the mat. Give yourself some room. And we're going to lower down. Or rock back. And just take a moment or two to get comfortable here. Soles of the feet to the mat. We're going to bring the right ankle, top of the left knee. You may stay here or press that right knee away. Or if you have a little more room, we're going to bring that left thigh down towards the chest, interlace the fingers behind, and draw it close. And set the foot back down. Switch sides. Doing whatever you did on the one side on the other as well. And setting both feet down. Let's get ready for bridge. Feet about shoulder width apart, heels back close to the body, hands by your side. And then we're going to press down, hands and feet lifting up. Then lowering down. Bring soles of the feet together. Relax and breathe. Knees to center. Let's hug them into the chest. Rock a little side to side. And then arms to a T or goalpost arms. We're going to start lowering both knees over to the right. Moving back to center. And then going the other way. Breathe. Bring knees back to center. Extend the legs. Soles of the feet press up toward the sky. And then we're lowering. One leg at a time, or both together. Your choice. And then we're going to move into Shavasana. So if you want to do anything to get comfortable for that, you can. Any sort of last poses feel like you might need to do just to get settled, that is fine. So this idea of non-judgment. Judgment separates us. It changes our feeling about this unity, right, that we share. If we are all the same, how can you judge another person? And should you try to teach other people, scold other people, tell them what they're doing is wrong. I mean, clearly there are times when things are going wrong in the world and in our society where we need to take action, right? So in those cases, we can absolutely look to our yamas and niyamas and see where we might need to act. But on an individual basis, when you're talking about family and friends, probably not. This may not apply to children if you're talking about young children you need to teach them right from wrong, right? You need to show them the way and the path. Um, but once that's done, again, it's kind of up to them whether they're going to apply this information or not. So, non attachment, I think it goes very nicely with non judgment because with, with non judgment, we are maybe putting that stuff out there in terms of our example or in terms of children, perhaps what you've taught them, but we're not attached to the outcome, right? um, in yoga we say that a good deed is its own reward, right? Doing something for good is the only reason to do it. It's not because we want some sort of payout at the end. We aren't looking for results in terms of like a reward for ourselves or a pat on the head or an acknowledgement of how smart we are. That changes our action, right? Then we aren't doing something uh, with this open heart. We are doing something for our own selfish gain. So when we judge, we step into the role of the divine. That's not our place. Everyone has their own path and their own karma, right? That they accumulate. Um, we may help. We may try to help. We may, if asked, give information. We may, again, show an example. Um, but we can't live other people's lives for them. They're going to make mistakes and do things that we don't like. Um, but I love it's a definitely a Christian saying, which is that idea of hating the sin but not the sinner, right? You may think what someone is doing is not good for them, is not it's harmful. They may be harming others, um, but we can't hate. Right? We still have compassion. We understand that something is wrong. This person has a problem. They are doing something that is against what is our best interest and their best interest, right? But if we are all one, then we know we all have the capacity to go to that place. Um, so we can't separate ourselves. We can't. It would be nice, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we could point the finger at people doing wrong and say, well, they aren't the same as me. I would never do that. I could never do that. You unfortunately. But also fortunately, right? So there isn't, when you have someone who is doing things that are bad, destructive, they aren't without hope. Um, they are just broken in a way that maybe can be fixed. Um, so non judgment leaves the door open, right? We open the door. Um, We don't lock it tight and barricade it. We leave the door open, and we hope that people can step through that door and come to the other side, where we want to treat people with kindness, with compassion, with understanding. So moving then, fingers and toes, hands and feet. And then making your way up to a seat. We'll bring our hands together. Deep breath in and out. Thank you for taking time for yoga this morning and for sharing with me. I hope you have a really great Saturday. Namaste. Thank you. Saturday class. The name of the book I referenced earlier. I don't remember what book I'll have to go back and look at the tape. I will. I'll figure it out. I will figure that out for you, Deb, and I'll email it. So have a nice weekend. Enjoy your Saturday and your Sunday. See, notice, if you have some places in your life where you feel like you're judging. Oh, Yoga Sutras. Here, I'll put it here for you. I think I can type. So Yoga Sutras it's an old book. There's lots of different translations of this. I will absolutely email you one of the one. So Patanjali is the author. Well, he's not really the author. I don't really know who the author was. So maybe the translation. So typically you'll find Yoga Sutras are, I guess Patanjali is the author, but you need to then find a translation of it because it's written in Sanskrit. And usually they are translated and then also commentary. There's a commentary by someone, whoever it was who translated it, that gives you some information about the context of it, because obviously it was written thousands of years ago. So some context, how it sort of fits into everything. And then also simplifying it a little bit, because some of it is kind of, dense. And it's a big book. Not usually, most of it is, people don't usually read all of it. I did do a thing on one of so sadhana is kind of what you do for a spiritual practice, and there are different aspects of what you can do for your own personal sadhana. One of the things I did one year was transcribe and comment on the Yoga Sutras, the whole Yoga Sutras. And it took about 9 months. And I did it on Facebook in a Facebook group where we were talking about the sutras. And it was really great. It was a really enjoyable experience. I meant to do it every single day. I did not manage to do that, but I always caught up, so sometimes I was doing 2 or 3 in one day. But I kept at it, and it was very, very illuminating. And I have a feeling that it would be a good practice to do that sort of every year, to go through. But I did find that I think we mostly talk about like 1 or 2. There's like 5 books in the sutras, and like 1 or 2 are the main ones that we talk about. Because it gets kind of out there near the end. So yeah. So one of the things, and I'll tell you what I mean by out there. So one of the things we talk about in yoga is this idea that as you develop your meditation, and you develop this sort of mind-body connection, and you will actually start developing some abilities. So heightened awareness of other people's emotions, other people's energies. So you kind of, as you raise your awareness, you raise your ability to kind of see what's happening with yourself and with other people. You get more in line with the universe. And the later books are really about how to deal with that, how to handle that, because it can be a little disorienting when that sort of thing starts to happen. But that's down the line, which is why it's in the later books, because most people don't really need to get into that. So you can, just stick to the first couple of books and be happy. It's, but I love it. It's like, just like the asana, it's very sequential. You start here, and as you go down the line, you need to know different things, right? When you're starting, you don't need to know all that stuff because it doesn't affect you. But maybe when you get to the middle, you might start needing some of that information. So it's there if you need it. But yeah, see what you can do with non-judgment this weekend. Notice places where you might feel the urge to correct other people, or criticize other people, or yeah. I mean, we all have those impulses. And don't feel bad if you have them. It's very normal to have them. But notice if that's something that you feel every single day, you might want to work on that. If it's a habit, right, that you habitually look at things in that way, you might want to dial that back, because again, it's wasted energy, right? You're not doing yourself or anyone any good with that. So save your energy for something productive. Okay, I'll be back Monday. Enjoy your weekend.